Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and today Apple released iOS 12.2 to the public. This is out and available for all devices that support iOS 12 around the world, so the iPhone 5S and newer, all the supporting iPads and iPod Touches. Now this came in at 2.64 gigabytes for me on the iPhone XR. It can vary depending on device and which version you actually already have installed. Now if you're on the beta, maybe you're a developer or you have the public beta and you're not seeing that update, what you need to do is first check for an update, go to General, and then Software Update. If you're not seeing an update, make sure you go down to Settings and then General, and then go to Profiles and delete the profile if you have one. If you have that profile there, delete it, reboot your phone, check for a software update again, and you should be able to install it and update. Now, let's talk about the build number and the first thing they've actually changed. There's quite a few changes throughout, a lot of tweaks and little things, but let's talk about the new things. Let's go to General, then go to About. Now under the About section, you'll see they've changed it. They've kind of made it into little modules here. And the first one has to do with the name and the software. So if we tap on the build, you'll see it's 16E227 on the current version. You'll see the icon's a little bit different, and it also gives you your Apple Care warranty expiration. So you can go into here, buy more Apple Care if you need to, and you've got your expiration information there as well. Now let's go back to the home screen and talk about the other new things. So the next new thing has to do with Apple News. And this was announced today at Apple's announcement. They announced a bunch of services that mostly are coming in the summer and fall, everything from the Apple Card, which is a new credit card, to new Apple Arcade, and also which is a subscription service for the App Store, along with a new news subscription service and TV service. But the new one that came out today is the news subscription. So you'll see that icon is quite different, and if we go into the news, you'll see there's News Plus. Now they've changed this to have a little apple here, News Plus, and this is subscription. You can get all these different magazines, and it looks really nice. And then you go here, you just go to your normal Today view, go here, go to News Plus, and you can subscribe to whatever you might like. So they have a bunch of different ones in here. They don't have everything, but they have a bunch of these, and it's private. They don't share information, what you're looking at, and all of that. It's all kept private within the app. So that's all new. Now, there's also a new thing for Siri that's very minor that has to do with Apple TV. You can ask Siri on your phone, iPod, or iPad to show or play any movie, video, or sports game on the Apple TV. So they give an example that says, Siri, play Free Solo on my TV, and you have to say the word hey in front of that, and it will pop up and do that. And the next thing leads on to Apple TV, and that is the Apple TV remote. And the remote in the control center is a little bit different. You'll see the icon is different. If I compare it with the previous version of 12.1.4, there's the previous remote here. There's the new one. If I press on it, the actual app has been redesigned as well. You'll see it's not connected yet on this device, but you'll see the app itself is completely different, and they've updated that. They've also updated the little AirPlay icon in the upper right. So if we press on this, it looks a little bit different. So you've got that as well. And then let's go home. You'll see there's not much else in here that's too different. Just some refreshes to some icons like screen mirroring, things like that. Nothing that's a huge change. But one thing they did change is the wallet app. So let's go into that, and you'll see here I have my Pay Cash card. It gives me my transactions and in different information, and the icons are a little bit different. So the app itself gives you more information that's clearer and redesigned. And this kind of goes along with their new Apple Card that's coming out that looks a little bit different like that as well. So nothing groundbreaking there, but definitely different. They've also updated screen time. So if you use screen time, that's under Settings. We'll go back to home here, and then screen time. If we go under screen time, what you'll see is we have downtime and app limits. If we go into downtime, put in our password, and now we have a way to customize the specific days that we want screen time to be on and what times they're on as well. So that's all new and pretty nice. Now, the other thing they've done is if you use app limits here, app limits, you can add a limit, and they've categorized them so you can shut them off individually, and it just makes it easier overall to shut everything down that way. Now the next thing has to do with Safari, and Safari has an update as far as searching. So if we go into Safari, let me cancel this, you'll see that's today's wallpaper, and of course I'll link that in the description as I always do. Let's go here, we'll go to Apple, and if we go to the website, we'll go back and maybe type Apple again, and you'll see we've got some suggestions down here, and they have little arrows next to them. Maybe we want to search for this specific thing. We can tap the arrow and it pops up here and then gives us more suggestions based on what we're searching for. So it's a nice little way to zip around the OS when you're doing that and searching for something, and it makes things a little bit improved that way. They've also given warnings for unencrypted websites. Now, I don't have an unencrypted website to go to that I'm familiar with, but if it's unencrypted, it will warn you here. And then if you go to a website that asks for a password, so let's go to this one. You'll see here the dialog's a little bit different, and it will authenticate with your face and let you sign right in. Now, finally, under Safari, they've updated its privacy and security so that it's even more secure and prevents cross-site tracking. So under here, under the privacy settings in Safari, we used to have Do Not Track. Now we have cross-site tracking prevention, and that's an intelligent prevention method that's in Safari itself that prevents different sites from tracking you when you go from one to the next to the next. Now, there is one final thing they've actually updated within Safari as well as far as security. We go to settings again. You'll see it says motion and orientation access, and this prevents different websites from using the motion of the device to maybe use an app that uses the web browser. So you can turn that on and off now as well. Now, the next thing's very tiny. It has to do with Maps. So let's go into Maps. And within Maps, we now have Air Quality Index. So this is only available in the United States, the UK, and India. So that's where that's available, but it's there, and it's nice if you are looking for the Air Quality Index where you live. Now, finally, before we get into all of the more minor changes, we have new Animoji. So if we go into Messages, you'll see we have new Animoji. We have a giraffe, we have a shark, we have an owl, and we have a boar. So all of these are new. I kind of like the shark the most, but they're not anything I really use at all. Now, the next things are very minor, and they have to do with little tweaks to the operating system. So the first one has to do with this icon up here. Maybe you are on LTE. Let's see what it does here. You'll see it says LTE here for T-Mobile. If you're on AT&T, it will say 5GE now. And that doesn't necessarily mean you have 5G. It just means you have a new icon, basically. And also, there's improved audio recording quality when you're using that in Messages. So maybe we're in the phone. We'll go to Messages here, and we want to record one of these voice messages. We can record here, and this is actually a new codec, so the quality will be a little bit improved. So that part's nice. And then also, there's AirPlay 2 and HomeKit support on third-party TVs coming, so they've made that ready within the operating system here. So there will be new TVs with that access as well. Now, speaking of bug fixes, as far as the actual signal strength and LTE, they have not said they've fixed any of this. However, many people reported on the betas that it was much better. So if you're having issues with LTE and Wi-Fi, hopefully it's fixed, but it will only take a few days or so to know that for sure, since it seems to be pretty widespread. The next bug fix has to do with stability of this remote app. Apparently it was having issues, so they've fixed stability of that. They've also fixed missed calls not showing in the notification center. So if you're using the notification center and it's not showing calls, hopefully that's fixed as well. They also fixed the notification badge showing on settings, which I had this quite often. It was showing on settings when there was nothing in there to actually check. So you might have a little badge here. You go into settings, there was just nothing to check. So they fixed that. There also is a fix for the accuracy of system storage. So under General, we have our actual iPhone storage. They've fixed the accuracy of this overall, where it says System, and it was very inconsistent. You might see System have a ton of storage being used, and then sometimes it doesn't. It should fix all of those issues, thankfully. They also fixed an issue that could cause voice memos to automatically play back recordings after connecting to a Bluetooth device in a car, and also resolved an issue that could cause voice memos to temporarily prevent renaming a recording. Now finally, under here in Music, the Browse tab may have more editorial highlights, and that is really it for all of the changes. Now, some of these are pretty major, some are not. I saw improved CarPlay performance, and as far as battery is concerned, if we go into settings, we'll go into battery. Now, I've been running the betas, and battery seems to be pretty good for me overall. Here's the last 10 days on this device. You'll see I'm probably averaging at the end of the day about 8 hours of screen on time, maybe 9 based on the way I use the phone, but I'm not playing any games. I'm mostly in things like Twitter, YouTube, things like that, but it seems to be pretty stable and pretty good overall. And that's really it as far as that goes. Battery life on this particular final release will take a few days to know that for sure. Now, as far as speed and everything on older devices, many people are reporting that the speed seems really fast. Now, if I go into something like music, I haven't been in it for a little bit in here, you'll see on the SE, it comes up pretty fast. So that means on maybe a 6S, it will be fine and newer. So including the 7, the 8, all of those devices, and even the 5S, it seems to be pretty good. Now, unfortunately, my iPhone 5S has a dead battery, so I need to replace that. That will be in a future video, but it seems fine on the SE, and it should be good as far as that goes. Now, there are 2 more updates that Apple added to this. One of them has to do with AirPods 2 or AirPods 2nd gen. They've added support for them. This is the 1st gen. I'll have the 2nd one soon, hopefully, and it adds support for that. Also, supposedly it adds support for the Logitech Crayon. I haven't been able to get this to work with the 10.5 iPad Pro yet, but it may work on the newer ones. I'll have to check on the newer ones once they're fully updated as well. But let's take a look at the Geekbench scores. I have previous Geekbench scores on both of these devices, so I ran it just a moment ago with all the apps closed and everything. And you'll see on the iPhone XS Max, we have 4,833 for single core, 11,093 for multi-core. On the XR, it could be doing something in the background, I'm not sure, but we have 4,810 for single core, 10,425 for multi-core. If we go to the CPU history, you'll see it is a little bit different depending on which day we're talking about. Some of these, this one has gotten over 11,000 for multi-core, and in the previous ones with this one, you'll see we're close, but it's not quite there yet. And that could be because it's a major update and we're still updating in the background and things like that. So I wouldn't take those too seriously, but those are just some benchmarks to give you a baseline for what should be a minimum of for what you're getting. I would give it a day or so. Also with that battery life, if you're having bad battery life, give it a day or so for it to update. So let me know what you think though in the comments below. Of course, like I said, I'll link this wallpaper, and let me know if you found anything else as well. I'd love to hear what you have to say. And for those of you that follow me, you'll see this is a little bit newer than the previous one. I'll talk about that in a separate video as well. If you haven't subscribed already, though, please subscribe. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like. If not, the other one's okay too. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.